Hi everyone, it's Chantel and I'd like to welcome you all back to Educator Diaries. I'm here with Maria.
Hi everyone. What are we chatting about today, Chantel?
And this episode is going to be a little bit of a spin-off from our previous podcast, like relating to transition to school. However, today we'll be talking a bit more about formal school readiness programs because we know that children learn through play. However, I've sort of kind of found that the divide between childcare and the structure of school programs is quite large, actually.
Oh, most definitely. I've been into some schools here in Queensland, like I mentioned before in our previous podcast, they call it prep here, and in New South Wales is kindergarten.
Indeed, yep.
So when you go in there, you see those children who've gone to whether they've gone to preschool or childcare, they've come in with none of those basic foundation skills of learning in the sense of academic wise.
Yeah, because I think because childcare does do a fantastic job of the play-based program.
Most definitely.
When I even know that when I've done reading groups when my children were younger, you're in a classroom and the children are meant to sit there and follow those education, those basic rules of the classroom, like sitting down, watching the teacher, listening to those instructions and things like that, rather than getting up and just playing over in the corner whenever they feel like it, type thing.
Yes. Look, I've had, because, as you know, I've got my own program, Pencil Paper Star program, which is a school readiness program, which focuses on the early learning of literacy and numeracy. I have children who have completed the program and they've gone off to school, their first year of school, and parents have come back and said, thank goodness for that.
Because it just gives them a bit of an introduction into those pre-literacy, pre-phonic
Yes, most definitely. And
things.
And that is like an introduction for them to thrive academically, into their early years of school.
Yeah, because I think if children are given those opportunities, a lot of the times it's not so much even about making the child the smartest in the class, because children will learn at their own paces.
Of course.
It's a confidence thing. It's an independence thing. It boosts their self-esteem when they're going into a classroom environment with some skills behind them, some knowledge of these things that they've never heard of before.
Yeah, it's all familiarity, establishing those expectations of, what's required of them academically. I've been into many prep classes, and you see children struggling just to hold a pencil correctly. And I know in childcare you provide all the different tools for them to use, whether it be texters, crayons, pencils, but the introduction of making sure and securing their pincer grip, having that practice is not there in childcare, which, I know there is that, like you said, that there's the divide between, play-based learning and structured learning. But I believe it's got to come together as such. That's why, hence, I provide such a program as I do, because I see those children struggling.
And there are a few different agencies that will, outside private groups and things like that do provide a school readiness, whether you call it tutoring or early learning sessions and stuff like that. To help just introduce those concepts sometimes before they actually hit a classroom environment.
Yes, because it becomes very overwhelming, after just being in preschool or childcare and then going into school and sitting there and being expected to
sit there. And not being allowed really to get up and wander through the classroom, having to sit there and in kindergarten, put your hand up if you want to ask a question. A lot of those formal things are not really expected in childcare as well.
No. So look, there's a lot of skills that they can develop from these structured sort of early learning programs. From memory skills, language skills, and also to addressing any potential learning problems.
Yeah, 100%. So with those, when you actually sit down and, whether want better word, do a checklist on a child. Again, it's not about finding, putting a child in a box as far as going, they're advanced, they're whatever. It's about highlighting any areas of development that may need some assistance as well.
Oh, most definitely. It's the reason behind why I do what I do with my school readiness program, not only for neurotypical children but children on the spectrum, is that providing it in a very creative, fun way, but also learning in that structured sort of, mannerism in the sense of workbooks as such.
And sitting at the table and attending to a task as
and,
well.
and helping them and assisting them with, the pincer grips and cutting. I know in childcare it's more free play of the, of cutting and the way that they feel that they need to express themselves. But when it comes down to it, when you're sitting in the classroom, it's a matter of writing, pasting your work in your workbook or cutting out your shapes and so forth. And you don't have that assistance that you do, on a one-on-one basis. So if you've got the opportunity to provide that opportunity for your child to sort of, be part of a program, I think it's favourable for them.
Yeah, definitely. And again, with these programs, sometimes there's programs that you can download yourself, that you can either go to places that I know there are places out there that you can actually attend classes as such. And even you were saying before, Mariano, in our conversations that sometimes you've had children that get to school and haven't developed some of those early skills, so therefore they may need, even parents can then catch them up, like in kindergarten or year one, and go back and do these programs as well, just to get those foundation skills.
I have many children that come to me, in their first early years because they haven't mastered those foundation skills of the pre-writing. They've struggled. And along the way they get missed, and if those skills aren't attended to and focused on, the child then will struggle as it goes into its primary years. So it's important that you pave that way for those children and identify any issues or problems that may be in their early years. And by and it means either, like you said, doing programs at home online or downloading some worksheets for them, or attending one-on-one sessions or group sessions is a big valuable experience for your child. So let's have a look at some of the phonic programs, because once they start early years, they do in their first years, there is a phonic program that each school provides, the literacy program.
So I guess that's probably a really important thing. Like I said, some childcare centres do follow a basic phonic program in the sense they might sing the Ants and the Apple song or what have you. So, but
phonics.
It is actually really important, if you can, is to find out what program the school that your child's going to learns, because even though, even if they, for instance, learn the Jolly Phonics program and then they go to school and they do Letterland, it's not going to, if they've got that basic knowledge of what at is a type thing, they'll be able to transition. But it obviously would be better if, to try and have the same program.
Look, just give the school that that your child's going to be attending to, and just give them a call and just sort of say, what literacy program do you use in the early years of school, which is kindergarten or prep, however,
in junior school.
In junior school. So, and then you can follow for a program, like I said, you can download some of these programs. You can just even listen to some of the songs, like I know the Ants and the Apple, even on YouTube. They've got plenty of the Jolly Phonics, the songs which they sort of
they use.
Talks that they use. Yep.
Yeah, there's a few different programs though. So like you said, we've spoken about Jolly Phonics and Ants and the Apple. There's the Bug Club Phonics, All Aboard Phonics.
Junior Letters and Sounds, or the Song of Sounds, or Twinkle Phonics, which is a good one.
Okay, yeah. I know like I said before, I remember my children's school did Letterland. There's also like Sound Discovery and is there that Unlocking Letters and Sounds as well. So we'll put some of these programs on our website so you can be aware of what they are and have a look into them yourselves. You might find that one of them is more user-friendly than the other one as well.
Look, the reason behind all these early learning phonics programs, it gives your child the opportunity of a phonological awareness, the pathway to reading, early reading. So that's the reason behind the phonics.
Yeah.
But introducing the phonics with their foundations of literacy and numeracy, of writing, let alone just saying it and reciting it, is a great practice in order to take that first step into big school.
Yeah, and even I know in the past with like Paris and Lincoln, I think I had the Ants and the Apple Back in the day, it was a CD.
Yeah.
I think that's, and we used to play that in the car that. So
but now they've got all these apps that you can just go on and,
true.
It's just so easy just to download an app or...
Yeah, just beware. A lot of this stuff is really catchy, and when you're, lying in bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and you've got those songs going on, it's not...
That's right. But, so, I mean, everything's at their fingertips now, so you can just, just go on and see what's
so much.
There's so many. But some of the reading and writing programs that your children can either do either on their devices or hard copy, I always believe you've got to have both.
Yeah, definitely, because that's what you're also finding is that children's fine motor skills, I think we spoke about that in the last podcast, is that their fine motor skills are not as strong because a lot of it's done through
tapping,
tap, and that they still, they need to still understand the skill of writing and building up those strength and motor skills in their hands. So
I mean, look, when they're off at school, look, I mean, on your iPad, they do. I see a lot of tracing the sound, the letters, and so forth, but. At school, they won't be getting their finger and tracing on their paper, and all of a sudden, magically, a letter appears. They have to actually pick up a pencil and write. So, providing it in hard copy or going and seeing sort of, an early learning centre where they provide that one-on-one support. That's another way of doing it. That's a great experience because once they get in the classroom, it's nothing but pencils.
Because with your program, like Maria said that she runs the Pencil Paper Star program, yours is a literacy and numeracy, like you can actually get your stuff in hard copies.
Most definitely,
on a website or something.
Yeah, so what I'll do is on the website I'll put some of our worksheets so you can download free worksheets on there, but also too you can purchase some of the books, the new literacy, numeracy and pre-writing books, so they'll be available on the website if anybody's interested in getting them.
Because therefore that way too, if parents, it's probably a bit more economical because to go to some of these tutoring classes and things like that, it's an ongoing thing and they learn, bit by week. But I guess if the parents want to download like a book or even, Officeworks books or whatever, you can sit down with your child and,
Look, following up of what they do, whether they do in childcare, whether they do at an early learning service where they provide this structured school readiness programs, following up at home is a great opportunity because they become familiar with what they've learnt and what they know and what they're going to be establishing once they get into school. So that's another good way. And I know a lot of parents don't have a lot of time on their hands to do all that, but you've got those parents who are always looking for some resources for them for their children to do. And so
it's like Reading Eggs is another one too.
That's another program that's been around for a very long time.
Yeah, long time. Yeah.
That's on an app which children can download and have and that goes up into the primary years, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think I've seen them also at post offices and things like that, so you can actually get the hard copy versions of those
and
as well.
I've come across the Night Zookeeper. This is a London-based reading and writing program.
Okay.
As well as Tappity, which is another online program. So I've never I've heard of them, but they're quite popular.
Okay.
And the ABC Mouse online program. So that's another program, a reading and writing program, which you can have a look at and see how you go with that. Okay,
all right. Well, moving on, I suppose a lot of parents, might say, why should children start an early literacy program, like at a young age? What have you found with the children that you've had come through your program?
Oh, look, I always say to the parents once they've started school, and I always do a follow-up to see how they're going and, not only just to see what they've done from what I've done from my end to see if it's followed through, but just to see how the child's coping. And I've always done that with the families that I've worked with. And I always get back, thank goodness, Maria, we've done that for our child because, it just helps them in the sense of their critical thinking or their cognitive sort of learning lessons that they've got to do at school. And also too, just building their confidence and self-esteem and attending to their concentration and being able to sit there for that long and going, oh, wow, I know that. I'm familiar with that and feeling confident to, and the teachers picked up on that. So that's great feedback that I've been given, but most of all, it's rewarding just to hear that these children are doing well in that respect. So it does work, and I think it does work because hand in hand with childcare and preschool opportunities and experiences in a playful situation, I think it works brilliantly together.
Yeah, I think like you said, it is important for children to have that exposure to these things to just bridge that gap a little bit. Like, we're not here to say we want children sitting at a table, all day like they would at school, doing, written work and stuff like that.
No, it's not about that.
But in saying that, I also found that, children at the preschool would quite often like to do some sort of different, when I say stencil work, but it's structured work. It'd be like, even if you're sitting down with them and it's like, let's match this up or let's match that up. They actually, quite often they actually enjoyed that stuff. Like I said, we're not sitting here telling them to sit there and do, a whole book of work and what have you. But again, parents can sit with their children and understand like the basic concepts to help them get ready as well.
So what we've done is we've devised a school readiness checklist, which is aged for children 4 to 5 years, and we're going to put this on our website. So you're more than happy to go on there and download this checklist, and that just gives you an actual guide of the areas to say, right, let me see what should I be looking at in the sense of my child before my child's going off to school. And some of these areas, yes, like we've said, they are covered while they're at childcare.
Yeah, they will definitely overlap, because I know that a lot of childcare centres still do go off milestone developmental checklists and things like that. But this sort of kind of, is a little bit more shows you the structured activity that you'd like them to do. That, so like, for instance, if we're looking at their fine motor skills, like, like holding their pencil in the pincer grabs, making sure that, trying to encourage them to hold it correctly. Like, I used to do a thing with the children, a crocodile, and it's a bit hard to do that. I can't demonstrate it. They would like chomp on the pencil and then you turn it around and that. So I don't know if there's a YouTube video on that.
I still use that.
Yeah, the crocodile.
But using triangular pencils, even just something basic like
a guide or something.
Yes, I don't know. I mean, starting off with some of these pencils are too thin and just But starting off with a triangular pencil can just make a world of difference for a child holding a pencil correctly.
Yeah, it just guides their fingers where to be as well.
Exactly. So look, I mean, we talk about self-help skills, children buttoning and unbutton, that's all their fine motor, and doing shoelaces. It's one big thing, able to do shoelaces. It's so important. And I think we spoke about this in the last podcast anyway. But again, cognitively, knowing your own age, recognising the name, but also writing their name. So important.
Yeah, especially even just their first name. And like we said before, not in capitals and that. So even, have a look at the foundation fonts and the direction of those letters. And, even just tracing their names to start with is great.
And looking at basic concepts of cognitive, like the numeracy, when we look about counting, identifying numbers 1 to 10 and beyond that, and counting a collection of objects.
Groups of 10, numbers to 10, like the friends of 10 and all that sort of stuff. So like the 2 groups of fives and stuff. So and even like puzzles are, I think, a little bit underrated sometimes when it comes to those cognitive skills. It's something that's so easy that you can even realistically create your own if you had to, like just print something off, cut it up into pieces and see if they can put it back together again. So that's a great problem solving skill.
Exactly. Get your child to draw a picture. Right, get a picture, whatever they want to draw, make it fun, make it colourful, and then just cut it up.
Yeah, if you've got a laminator, we used to do that at the preschool, like laminate them, cut them up, and then get them to.
And even so, if you don't have a laminator, start off first with their first picture, cut it up into 5 pieces. Then move up, cutting it up into 10 pieces, and keep moving up until you reach 20 pieces, and then keep going. And what they actually do is get them on another piece of paper that's larger, and they can stick it all together. So that's a really fun activity, and that's it's cheap, it's affordable, and they're part of the process of creating.
And even like if you find that it's moving around, put a little bit of blue tack on the back. Kids love blue tack. I don't know, like if they just love the blue tack. So that's even just makes it a bit more fun for them.
For sure. And again too, they're introducing colour. So, making sure that they all know their first, I know first and foremost is their primary colours, but then introducing all the other colours, the purples, the blacks, the orange, the browns, all those colours there, which they'd be using, which they use at childcare, but identifying them and recognising those colours are just as important as the primary colours too.
And you can even have a lot of fun with that, with mixing colours and things like that with if you've got any paints or even watercolours and stuff like that at home, you can sit there and just have a fun activity like going, oh, let's mix this together. What does this make? And stuff like that.
Yep, and that's, again, introducing science. That's, mixing the colours and so forth. So we talk about shapes. So introducing, they start doing the 2D shapes at a preschool level, your basic flat shapes, which is your circle, triangles, rectangles, but introducing the next step, semicircles, crescents, which the children label them as the moon. Those shapes, because they're the sort of shapes, then we'll introduce them to 3D shapes, which is our, cylinders and cones and so forth. So just exposing them. It's just exposing them to these sort of shapes.
Yeah, that you don't expect to go through and that they know everything, but it's another conversation to have with them as well. So and go, look at that. You'll be surprised at how children's minds think. Like you said, even with the moon and the crescent shape, of a nighttime outside in the sky. Yep, there's a conversation to have. Well, do you know what the name of that is? Is blah blah blah. So
exactly. So so look at let's again too on our cognitive checklist. We've got visual discrimination, which is identifying. We call them prepositions and biggest, smallest.
Yeah, your longest, shortest, same, different. Yeah, more or less. That's a really fun one to do.
More or less, exactly.
On scales and things like that.
Empty, full, heaviest, lightest. That's the other sort of other. Concepts which children will need to master before they go off to school, because there's a lot of that interfolds with lots of the different subjects that are at school, from science to maths. So that's an important concept.
And even a lot of these things can be done during, for parents, bath time. Put some things in the bath that are heavy and light, floating and sinking, empty and full. When you've got your cups in the water, they're all conversations that you can just have. They don't have to be, these sort of things don't have to be a structured learning.
No,
they can learn through these things.
So providing this checklist for you, it's just a matter of you just as a guide that you use and implementing them just for your own sake of saying, right, you know what, hey, I didn't even know my child doesn't understand this concept. And let me see which way I can do it. And you've given some great ideas, even through bath time.
Yep.
It's a fun way of doing it. Now, when we look at fine motor, which we've talked about, the pencil grip and writing and so forth, drawing recognisable pictures, so that becomes more descriptive. So, therefore, the introduction of writing about what they've drawn when they go to school, which is, another task which that we required for them to do. Staying inside the lines of colouring.
Yes,
that's a lot of.
I remember. I remember Lincoln. Kindergarten. Was told by a teacher that he wasn't able to colour in between the lines, which he actually was. He was just a boy. He didn't want to colour in, which I don't know if I mentioned this before, but
Look, and it's not the be and end all, but the reason behind it.
Yes, I understand there's a reason behind it, but trying to tell Lincoln to colour in a deer, he wasn't interested. So, but anyway.
The reason behind colouring inside lines,
it's a visual
discriminate. It's a visual content, but also too, it's their focus and attention to detail. It's just introducing them to those those tasks that are going to be ahead, which are much more challenging.
And more. It's more a refined fine motor skill too. That you will see that children will go from the big scribbles to the smaller smaller strokes and So
I always I use this sort of skill with a lot of the children that I work with when keeping inside the lines. I actually get them to get their pencil, their coloured pencil, and inside the picture or shape, wherever they're colouring in, is to do little circular motions.
Oh, okay.
Of actually colouring in little circular motions. So as they circular through the picture, they're actually staying inside the shape or the picture that they're colouring in. So and again, cutting. I think we spoke about this about cutting,
that is actually, I think, I don't know if I mentioned it before, that was one of the big things that when I started doing reading groups, that the cutting skills, there was papers left, right and centre with that. So it is actually, when kindergarten, they do need to know how to cut. So
look, start off by snipping. Just getting a piece of paper and get them to snip at the end of the paper first, just to see if they've got their proper control of the opening, closing and holding the scissors correctly, and then using their other hand to hold the paper, and then introduce cutting on a straight line, cutting on a curved line. That's just a skill that, you want your child to achieve. And like I said, all cutting has to be supervised. I mean, we've all had experience. I think we spoke about that last time. But yeah, so it's that's part of, like I said, part of the checklist. But don't get overwhelmed by it all. It's just looking and you being aware of what your child should be achieving by the time they go off to school, and what's probably a preference of looking, saying, right, okay, I need to work on that, you know?
Yeah, and it's the same, I think, with their language skills as well, you know, like seeing how, you know, if they are understood by others, like, around them, and if they do engage in other conversations with children, it's important not just for language but their social skills as well. So.
Yeah, and I know most educators would inform the parents if, you know, there's a necessity of seeing a speech therapist as such, you know, that's always there. And I think that continues without saying that, you know.
And sometimes, again, with some of these other structured school readiness programs where the children actually do sit at a table together, and you know, you hope to encourage those conversations amongst the table about, what are you doing? Can I borrow your pencil? Able to share the resources at the table, and then, you know, then move on to, okay, it's time to listen now, and listen when instructions are given. So sometimes bring it back to some of those formal school readiness programs. They are great for some of
those
these
opportunities. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think we touching on the language part of it also too, giving children opportunity of seeing whether or not your child's able to rhyme words. You know, because that's part of I think, you know, the early years of school, the big school, they do a lot of rhyming, and making up little short rhyming words, you know, words that end in at, or you know, the ot, and so forth. So that's another concept to sort of, you know, introduce with children, and you can make it fun, you know. Just see if the child can add to yours. The cat sat on the, you know, and see what they say, you know.
Yeah. Or do these words sound the same, like pet, vet, jet? Yeah. Like, can you hear what sounds the same in there? And so it's just even opening, like opening those conversations as well. So, but yeah, and even with we'll bring it back to the phonics again. So a lot of the time is understanding, you know, when they do like the ABC song, like a lot of children know the ABC song, but do they understand that
the letter A makes the sound at?
Yeah, exactly. So that's where those, you know, pre-phonic programs introduce that concept as well, because that is one of the early ones that they will start to introduce in kindergarten as well. So
so look, we've covered all that, and like I said, this is on the website for you to download, and if you'd like to sort of, you know, have your own little checklist at home, like I said, don't it's not
the be all and end all. It's not,
no, it's just a guide. It's just a guide for you. And like Chantel said, you know, at childcare they do cover the milestones that a child goes, but some of these areas are a little bit more specific to literacy and numeracy as such. So
because we just sort of kind of want to open up as many avenues for parents as well, to, you know, to think, okay, well, there's this opportunity out there for that. There's these skills on this checklist that from Pencil Paper Star, you go, oh, well, I hadn't even thought about those things before. And like I said, you know, we want to try and give you guys as many opportunities to do things with your children, to prepare them without costing you an arm and a leg as well.
That's right. So, so check out those ones. And so before we leave you today, and thank you again for listening. It's been wonderful, and we're really enjoying our journey. And how about you, Chantel?
Yeah, it's actually been fun. I'm quite surprised at getting used to having my, voice over this microphone. So, I hear myself, I go, not as cringeworthy as I used to be, but that's okay.
No, well, it's been fun. It's been fun, and I'm so grateful that we're able to share,
a really bit of insight into what we know.
Yeah. So before I leave you, I'll leave you with this inspirational quote: "Every child has the potential to learn." So enjoy and take care. And thanks for listening. Bye, everyone.
See you guys. Ciao, ciao.